Good afternoon, everyone. Imagine yourselves walking in an Amazonian forest where everything around you is green and pristine with a fresh air breathe, tall old trees surrounding you everywhere, the river is flowing by your side, and as you move along exploring, you hit a log facing this giant snake. What would be your reactions? Anyone here will not run away? And as you move along exploring, you find these white, beautiful flowers that you would want to pick and collect, maybe take a selfie for an Instagram stories. Who knows? But what if I tell you that these white flowers that you're admiring are poisonous ones? They may cause a serious illness and may even cause death. And this snake that you ran away from earlier is a non-poisonous one. It won't attack you unless you attack it. We as humans have developed this mechanism of grouping objects, creatures, and even other human beings into favorable and unfavorable categories. So when there is a dangerous situation and when the time is of essence, you would respond quickly to the visual cues without conscious awareness. We have believed that it's much safer to avoid false positives, avoiding something that is good, than taking in false negatives, not avoiding something that is bad. This mechanism developed is called bias. And today, we're here talking about the bias experienced against different human groups. Let's start by the gender bias. Take a look at this gender distribution for the global headcounts of top tech companies. Gender bias causes an inclusion rate of females with just 20% in some cases. And it gets drastically worse when you just take into account technical positions, going down to sometimes to 15%, assuming that males are more competent taking in technical roles. Another type of bias that causes serious discriminatory practices against human groups is the ethnic bias. A study was conducted a few years ago through eBay through 2 auctions. The auctions were showing the exact same product, which were baseball cards. The only difference between the 2 auctions is the hand colors holding the baseball cards. In one auction, the cards were being held by white-skinned hands, and on the other auctions, the cards were being held by dark-skinned hands. And guess what? The auction with the dark-skinned hands, the products were sold by 20% less than the white-skinned hands. This is sad, huh? Another effect that causes other bias experiences is the halo effect. So what is the halo effect? The halo effect is the perception that attractive people are more likable, funnier, and smarter than other human groups. There are studies that shows that recruiters stands high for taller candidates and that moderate obese candidates, especially if they're women, are less likely to get the job, even when qualifications are taken into account. Let's do this experiment together. Take a look at this guy, try to build an impression on him, and tell me what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see him. Hold your thoughts and we'll come back to him later. So the bias effect is serious. It causes exclusionary experiences, discriminatory practices, and it's unfair. So what can we do about it? Especially that we're now living in the technological era where humans are relying more on machines, taking on some serious decisions. Amazon have developed an algorithm a few years ago helping recruiters to shortlist candidates based on their CVs. The algorithm turned out not to like women. And it was not assigning candidates into a gender-neutral way, especially for technical roles. Is this a surprise? We've just taken a look at the gender distribution for top tech companies, and it's by the human will that the inclusion rates of females were 15%. Some would say that this is because machine learning and AI is biased, but no. Machine learning decisions is an extension of our mindsets. We are the ones building the machines. We are the ones feeding it historical data that is biased. So it's no wonder that the outcome of those machine learning models are biased. In the US, law enforcement have started using machine learning to decide how long a prisoner would stay in prison. Now we're relying on machines on decisions such as if you're going to get hired or fired, if you're going to get the loan or not, if you're going to get the insurance or not, if a student would get admitted to the college he has always dreamt of or not. So the urge of fair machine learning models is now inevitable. And as the head of data science at Searchi, it's my responsibility to make sure that the machine learning decision process that we're going through is fair enough, and to increase awareness about how can we build ethical models. So one of Searchi's main products is an AI recruitment platform. Through the platform, candidates go through a virtual video interview where their responses gets recorded. The video responses are then passed through our in-house built machine learning models, producing values for the big 5 personality traits. Let's go one step backwards. What is the big 5 personality framework? The big 5 personality framework is known as the most accurate and respectable psychological framework that was built in the 50s. It's born of 5 main traits that we call the ocean traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Any individual can be summed up by how and where they lie in the spectrum of each of these traits. I can't play the video. Anyway, so to sum up, candidates go through the video interview. Their video responses are processed through the machine learning models, generating values for the big 5 traits. On the other side of the platform, hiring companies define their openings. They not only define the skills and experiences they need for this opening, but they define their team cultures and the personality of the individual that would fit into in this role. Having a pool of candidates applying through the platform, the candidates are then ranked not only according to their skills and experiences, but according to their personality traits, their culture, their natural abilities, their learning agilities, and how they would fit in this role. And of course, the face features and the body features are out of the game. So how does this work? This is pretty much emulating what happens in the human mind when you build an impression. The voice features and the visual features are extracted from the video responses. Out of the voice features, out of the voice signals, we extract 192 features, including the tone of voice, the pitch of voice, the energy, the entropy of energy, and many other features. And out of the visual signal, which is a bit more complex, features like the facial expressions, the microfacial expressions, body language, the head pose, the head movements, the body movements, the eye gaze, which is the directions of the eye, are extracted, producing 32 100,000 features every 2.5 seconds. The features are then passed through our deep learning models, generating the big 5 personality traits. Through psychometric mappings, we predict out of those 5 values their natural abilities, competencies, and how they would behave in the working environment. These are some examples of individuals doing with some different body language. It's been proven that the body language says a lot. It's one of the strongest signals that says a lot about someone's personality. For example, take the extroversion and the extroversion scale. These are 2 individuals that are rated on the opposite spectrum of extroversion. One is an introvert, the other is an extrovert. You would tend to see that the introvert fidget quite often with an unstable body movement, while on the other side, an extrovert maintains a stable head, maintains a stable body posture with a stable eye gaze, which is a reflection that the person is confident communicating with someone. So, any one of you here knows the talent show The Voice? Through this competition, competitors are they are shortlisted according to their voice merits, to their quality of the voice, while the beauty aspects are out of the game. Unlike the current musical industry, which takes where the beauty aspects is a very strong signal if an actress is gonna evolve or not. Think of Searchy as the same. We are ranking people on the top of this list based on their qualities. Their face shape and the body shape is not a signal that we look at. So again, how can we make sure that the decisions that we're making through our platform is unbiased? There are different aspects that if any machine learning engineer ensures that they have through building their models, then they are closer to having ethical or unbiased machine learning models. First is defining your problem statement. Taking in the gender bias and reflecting back to what we do at Searchy. Is our problem that we want to 50-50 distribute the shortlist based on gender, so that the shortlisted candidates list is on a 50-50% distribution? Or are we trying to shortlist candidates irrelative to their gender? These are 2 different problems. And going for the first is still unfair, as it's going to exclude candidates just based on their gender. And this is not what we're pursuing. So how you define your problems matter. The second aspect is your teams. Are your teams inclusive enough with diversified team members checking each other's blind spot? Same goes to your teams who labels your data. The subjectivity or the subjectivity of different cultures in the quality of how you would label the data would affect how your models are gonna predict values. So having different cultures' opinion in your ground truth data really matters. At Searchy, we are 18 team members from 16 different countries. Last but not least is your data sets. So are your data sets well representative of the different human groups? Your training and validation data needs to have a fair distribution of genders. They need to include different age ranges, different ethnic groups. We're very privileged at Searchy that we're born in the UAE, which is a true culture hub, and that we have amassed our data because our platform is accessible from all around the world, from 170 plus countries. This is a heat map showing where we have amassed our data from. So it's pretty much from all around the world. Remember this guy? It's a very popular opinion that people from the fitness industry, bodybuilders, and especially people with tattoos, are self-centered. They're all about their looks. They're not into learning something new. But what if things are different? Thanks, Nino Barbu, who contributed with us to help us deliver the message against bias. So fighting bias is a very long way to go. But here's the good news. We have the power to build ethical machine learning models that can overcome the bias effect. You can get a recruiter to lie about why a candidate was not shortlisted or was even rejected, but you cannot get a machine to lie about that. Only when our decisions are bias-free, then you would be able to meet stars that would take your organizations and teams to a whole new level, stars that you were discouraged even to meet in the first place. Allow yourselves to meet the snake that you ran away from earlier, and allow it to do what it has always evolved to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anand. Do we have any questions? Could you tell me about
Thank you.
Could you tell me about the data set that you use to make sure that it's unbiased? How did you remove the bias, number one? And secondly, how did you...
So I didn't get your first question, I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
How did you prepare the data set?
Yes.
So ultimately what you did is a supervised kind of approach, right?
Yes.
So then you should have supervised data to do this. How did you prepare this? How did you ensure that it's not biased?
So as I showed earlier, oh, it's already gone. Okay, anyway. So as I showed earlier, that we're amassing our data from 170 plus countries. We take this data, we label it. We label it through through instructions that were set by our in-house psychologist. So we made sure that actually in the very early beginning we did iterate through the labeling many times. So we didn't only train the machines, but we trained labelers to how to label those data first. So we trained our labelers, and these data were ETL'd into our databases, and from which we did our trainings.
Could you give an indication of how big the data set has to be?
Sorry?
Could you give an indication of how big the data set has to be for this kind of model?
So it has to be in the range of the hundreds of thousands of videos, yes. So what we do is through the labeling process, we label for the ethnic group, the gender, and the age ranges. Through sampling, through our experiments, we make sure that in each batch, in each iteration of our learning process, that all those human groups are represented in our experiments. There is one here.
What was the accuracy of your algorithm and how you monitor it? Has everything improved over time?
Sorry, again?
What was the accuracy of your algorithm and how you monitor it? Has improved over time?
Okay, so this, we've measured our accuracy in, by 2 ways. First, the distance between what a human psychologist would label and how the machine would predict the values. So we're around 2 points away on the distance level from a psychologist. And based on the accuracy level of all the videos, we're around 85% accurate. 85% of our data is accurately labeled.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.